We're here bright and early. It feels bright and early.
It's very bright outside. Blinding.
Maybe it's 9:30. It's like 9:30
in the morning.
But we're actually on time. Are you guys proud?
know.
You should be proud. Because we're not good at that. Okay, so we decided that this week we would. Sorry, I'm not ignoring you. I'm trying to find.
She's trying to find
the video. We decided this week we wanted to talk about another quick and easy quilt. Christmas is, if I have my kids on me, 2 weeks away. So we are frantically finishing Christmas shopping. Are you done? I'm not done.
I'm closer.
I think
I'm still waiting on a shipment.
I gotta do stocking stuffers.
Yeah.
That's stockings are things I haven't thought about yet.
That's date night with my husband next week.
Yeah, we're gonna sort that out. Anyway, so but this is a quick and easy project that makes a great gift. And by quick and easy, you guys,
Liz, we talked about what to do the other day. Liz worked the shop yesterday, which meant she left, 7, 8?
I left my house at 8 o'clock in the morning and got home around 7:30 in the evening because it was my day to work.
She picked some fabric yesterday while at the shop, and then she went home and wrote a pattern, cut it out, sewed all but 2 rows together, and now we're going to talk about it this morning. So
it really is a
quick and easy. This
project.
was, I think she texted us a picture, 11:30 last night?
Yeah.
So, I mean,
it takes a few hours.
4 hours with writing the pattern.
It's doable.
This is fast.
This is a quilt in a day project. I called it my quick Checkmate quilt. If you go to our website under resources, it's under free patterns.
I also included it in the
link here
in the information for this video.
And it's a good size, you guys. This finishes at 49.5 by 58.5. This one is going to be for my 7-year-old. And
she used the stem fabric.
I use the stem fabric. He's a geek, so it's great. I love him. He's my math nerd. And it's a total of 3 1/4 yards. So for about $42, you have a quilt top. If you use solids, it's less than $30. But when we're talking buffalo plaid, this is what we consider a buffalo plaid. What we need is 3 fabrics,
right.
three tones. This is the important thing. Big prints don't always work well.
Big prints don't always work. They can get really distracting. So you want something that's going to feel kind of uniform in color. We usually call those blenders or tonals. So when I look at the fabric, maybe I see red. Maybe there's a pattern in there. But the overall feeling I get from that fabric is this is red.
Yes. So on mine, if you'll notice when you download it or look at it, it's in grayscale because it's black and white and that was easier. And so I made the top for you guys in a grayscale.
Right.
Because then it's really easy to see. I'm telling you, you don't have to use a white. Clearly I use white with a whole bunch of stuff in it because
Liz loves her really busy
and
low
I
volumes.
do busy low volumes because I can't not. It's hard for me.
Anyway, so what we want is a dark, that is definitely the dark. Then we want a medium in the same color family. So if you're going to have a navy blue, maybe go to a medium blue. With the red, you don't necessarily need to go pink, but you're going to want to do a lighter red that is noticeably lighter.
The thing is, what's interesting is when you look at it on paper and even on the quilt, once it gets done, some of the grays end up looking darker than what they actually are, and it's because it's next to the black. It kind of has a cool effect. Yeah. But it really is just 3 tones. It's that easy. I have them cut into 5-inch squares. So it's...
And your background tone here, where she used a white, you could even go with a totally different color.
Yes. Like you have the red and black buffalo plaids.
Right.
This would be where you put your red in.
Okay, so we're local. We're in Meridian, Idaho. If you're going to go BSU blue, you might do a navy and a royal with an orange instead of a white.
Yes.
So this is a way where you can mix colors, but that orange is what I would consider my white here.
Yes, because it's dramatically different than the other 2 colors.
Right. So the black and gray need to be same color family.
Yes. Makes sense? Clear as mud.
Clear as mud.
So, like I said, this went together really, really fast. I believe in odd numbers.
Absolutely.
And so my rows are odd numbers. I believe in odd numbers because, like, when it comes to rows and designs, because that way both ends are light. It makes a quilt look balanced if both sides have a light row or both sides are a dark row instead of one or the other. Otherwise, it feels like the quilt's
heavy on one side. It's leaning.
To quote my...
it's leaning. He looks like he's leaning.
It's leaning.
Sorry.
Which makes me feel uncomfortable. Just we're on one.
We're serious this morning.
So, that said, I have these last 2 rows that we haven't done together in odd numbers. So there's 6 of the white pieces and 5 of the grays. This one, there's 6 of the grays and 5 of the black. 5 of the blacks.
5.
But what we do is we sew them together in pairs. That's going to leave an odd man out, which is perfect. So I'm going to take one of my white guys and set him aside, and one of my black guys and set it aside.
And the beauty of having 2 rows,
my gray guys,
2 rows laid out at a time, is we can
chain piece. So what I'm going to have her do is sew the 3 white gray pairs, or there's 4 white gray pairs. 5. There's 5. I'm doing really, really, really good.
Great, because 5 and 6, right? Because there's 11.
Yes. And then what we do is we chain piece back and forth. And you guys, I did this, like I said, I did this whole thing on my machine last night in a couple of hours. It really can go that quick. So we just want to show you how we're going to do these 2 rows. And we're going to do all the white grays, and then we'll do all the gray blacks, and just show you how to chain piece them. And when I did this at home, you guys, I did literally all of the white grays and then all of the gray blacks. And it worked out well. And then I like to pull the extras for that last, because like I said, we're working in an odd number, not an even number. I pull the extras out so that I don't accidentally pair up too many.
I did the numbers upside down on that one. We're going to have to fix it.
I have all my numbers going the same direction, you guys.
It's the one fabric on here that's directional. She had it right.
I am a nerd.
So just keep in mind. So
just
we
cut it off real fast so I can.
Well, if you just put the one on the other side, right? If that's your end piece.
Yeah, I guess I probably could.
Here, you do that.
She's gonna throw me off. Now. Like, yeah, see, we're good here. Your tension's a little funny.
I know.
That's okay.
I'm not going to mess with it right now, though. So, we're just going to sew. Now, when it comes to pressing these, I am going to press to the side. You know, generally speaking, Liz and I say there's no right way to press. Press whichever way works best for what you're doing.
But we're going to press to the side. And the reason is, on these simple patchwork quilts, you guys, I know we've all done them. They're simple and they're easy. But they're so much easier to make match up if you're able to nest the seams.
So a lot of times what I see is once people get these nice long rows put together of their squares, what some people will do is they'll float the seam. Float it. So basically they'll have this piece right here. You'll take your next long piece, lay it on top, start at the top, and just sew till you get to the end. The machines, as wonderful as they are, don't feed fabric evenly. And so you're not going to necessarily end up in exactly the right place. You're going to have a little bit of extra on probably the top hanging over, or the bottom. And that's going to be a problem. And then all of these guys right here aren't going to be matching. And your eye gets drawn to that. And we don't want that. So like Liz and I say all the time, we match what matters. And it's really easy to match those seams if they're nested. And by nested, we mean one row is going to be pressed maybe to the left, and the other row is going to be pressed to the right.
Exactly. I hope that makes...
And we will show you that, because we're going to put these together. I'm just going to keep sewing whatever she hands me.
Okay.
Okay?
Works for me. So, what Jen was showing you, and I'm going to come around the front of the table and show you again. on my quilt here that's done. Is that what I did is one row, I pressed all of the rows to the left, and then on the row with the black, on the row with the right, I pressed them all going the other direction. So that when it came time to sew them together, I could nest those seams, and it would be nice and even, and I could make sure we're getting all the squares right in all the squares. Don't look too closely, it's not perfect. Like I said, it was 11 o'clock.
But it helps because what it does is it kind of lets you lock them in place. Yes. There's really not a lot of give where they're just going to kind of lock together. Don't throw irons. And it just makes it really nice. So when I'm doing a simple like patchwork quilt like this, I'm always going to press to the side unless I'm doing like 1-inch squares for some insane reason, which...
Now,
we've been known to do.
Had I wanted to get really good with my pressing on this and not been in a hurry, I would have, because I'm this big nerd, you guys, I would have pressed them all into the gray and spun on my seams.
Right, like what we did on the checkerboard last week.
So had I been being super nerdy, that would have been the step, and that's easy to figure out because if I pressed just to all the grays, like on the checkerboard I pressed to all the reds.
Right.
Then it's easy to spin the seams when I then go ahead and put it together.
Because the grays alternate.
In the back.
And they're in each row, so it's an easy way to remember that. Wow. I like dulled those scissors.
Jen's not keeping up with me.
Well, you know.
That's okay. Mostly because I'm not pressing in between. Because that's just it. You really can speed this up because you don't have to press until you have the whole row assembled.
Mm-hmm. You know, if I was doing this at home in my sewing room, I probably would, but that's because I have a little pressing station right next to me. And I'm neurotic. I was cleaning my pottery wheel like mid-pot last night in my class. Just getting the extra stuff on using my sponge. And one of the guys in my class across from me was like, you know you don't need to do that, right? I'm like,
you're like, I'm not sure what your point is.
I'm like, actually, I kind of have to. You know?
Well, it's too neurotic.
I'm like, you know how on the first day of this class I told you I was obsessive compulsive? I wasn't kidding. Yeah. I'm like, you don't have to do this, and that probably makes your life easier. But I will function better if I take a second and do this.
I got your next 3 seams.
Good job.
Okay, and then when it comes to assembling, you guys, this is my least favorite part, okay, when it comes to assembling a quilt. So I will always start sewing my rows together in pairs as I work. And when you get, because I've got an odd number, the last one's going to have 3, which is fine. And, sorry, I'm trying to remember which direction.
But the reason we tend to assemble our rows in pairs as we go is because, at least for me, that's my least favorite part. Once I have big seams, I'm bored.
Well, and I don't like trying to feed a ton of bulk through anything.
Right.
Okay.
And so it's just easier if instead of adding 1 row at a time and finishing it, if you chunk it up. So then you take 2 rows and put them together, and slowly the quilt, each piece gets bigger.
Yes. So then you start rolling putting sets of 2 together, then sets of 4, and then it's, I don't know, somehow less daunting.
Yeah, it's just the way I always work. Plus, a lot of times, like I said, where people will often just float those rows together at the end, it's because that pinning is boring. It's not the fun part.
No.
And so this way, you kind of do that tedium a bit at a time, which somehow makes it feel less tedious.
Not sure how, but it works out that way.
Right.
Okay, I know this feels upside down, but do that.
Okay. You do that. Because I had to use my leader ender.
Oh, do this one first then.
Oh. Okay. Yes, we should do that first.
guys, this is the extent to which we are this ridiculous.
We have to do this first so
Sorry.
that this can then be attached to that while this other one's on the machine, so that I don't have to use my leader ender.
I know, we're ridiculous. You guys do not have to go to this kind of a neurotic level to do anything.
Right, we expect nobody to be as neurotic as we are.
Yeah. And I fully embrace who I am.
Right. This is just how my brain works.
And the fact that I am that neurotic. And I kind of appreciate having sisters that are too. Because then I feel a little bit less ridiculous.
A little less crazy.
About being
right.
As neurotic as I am.
Like, don't worry, I'm not actually insane. There are other people like me.
They happen to be
and my husband's like,
and we all come from the same household, so it might be one of those
partly
environmental causes. I don't know. Ask my mother.
Well, mom's this way too.
Not my dad. He's not neurotic.
No, dad is not neurotic. That is absolutely not neurotic.
We have a laid back father. Can you tell?
Somebody in the family had to be laid back.
It wasn't me.
Well, and a couple of the younger ones.
Yeah. Anyway,
Jake's laid back. We're not all neurotic in our family, just most of us.
That's okay. I laugh because it's true.
It's true.
Okay. Let me just press these real fast.
So we've got our 2 nice long rows here. These are the last 2 rows that are going to go on this quilt. Once we get them all pressed, then we will talk just a little bit about nesting. I am going to grab the pins because I feel like when things get big, it's a good idea to pin.
So now this white one goes on the bottom.
This goes on the bottom.
Make sure my numbers are going the right direction.
I got it. I won't mess that up again.
I know. I just finished telling her, like, look, I got all the, because the gray number print is directional.
Right.
It doesn't feel like it should be, but it is.
But the other ones are tossed.
The other ones
they don't matter.
Tossed. And so and of course, there's twice as many gray squares as there are black or white. And how's that for a
good job? Way to go.
I was just thinking, how's that for a metaphor for life? Most of life's actually gray.
Most of life is actually gray.
It's not actually black and white.
Right.
No, just kidding. Okay, not really. But yeah. Okay, almost done. I guess I could have pressed as we went, but you don't have to.
That's okay. It can really go either way.
Because really, it can go quick not to. And the thing is, it's not necessary to as you go. Sorry.
All right. Got to do the top press.
I know.
I'm a big fan of the top press. A lot of people only press from the back.
No, it just, it finishes it off. It's kind of like
really
the whole,
does.
like, setting the seam thing. It just...
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the top press.
I already did that one.
All right. So what we're going to do here, we'll move it over, is we're going to lay this one right on top and flip it upside down. Now what we're going to do is we're going to grab these seams, and I just wiggle them in my fingers a little bit until it locks, until I can't push this one any further to the right and this one any further to the left.
The seams should all butt up against each other.
If you got a big pile and they're on top of each other, adjust.
Yep. Okay, so while she
we're
does
going to do this,
I'm going to talk to you about growing and shrinking your quilt and the quilt math, okay? So I went ahead when I wrote up the little pattern. There's a little blurb on the bottom. Guys, this is not a fancy written pattern because, well, it really is a simple quilt.
She did it last night.
And, but when it comes to quilt math, people come to us for quilt math. I think it's kind of funny, but they do. And, but I want you to know how to grow this and how to figure out your fabric requirements. So if you wanted to make this bigger, like I said, this is a solid about 50 by 60, which is just short of that, which is perfect for a throw. But say you want to make this for a twin-size bed, what I would recommend first of all is that, like I said, I would grow the quilt by odd numbers. Well, I'd grow it by even numbers so that it stays odd.
Right.
So I'd add 2 rows or 2 columns at a time. In fact, I'd probably add 2 each direction just to keep it
right.
But it can be square. I mean, really, it doesn't matter. So, but to figure that out, how big you want it, each time you add, the finished block on this quilt is 4.5 inches because we started at a 5-inch piece is what we cut. And so every time you add 2 rows, you're adding 9 inches to that direction of the quilt.
The finished
So
product.
if you add 2 rows and 2 columns, you're adding an additional 9 inches each way.
Mm-hmm.
In which case, that would make this about 60 inches by 70 inches. If you added 4, then it becomes 70 by 80 almost. Not
Well,
quite.
more like 68 by 78.
78, which is a fantastic twin size or whatever. And so you can grow it that way. It's really easy to grow. That's how we do the math. You can shrink it even, take off a couple rows, and then it's a little bit smaller for
Make
a crib.
it a crib.
But that's the math. So you know you're gonna, when you add 2 rows and 2 columns, you're gonna add 9 inches each way.
Mm-hmm.
Now to figure out fabric, because we talked a little bit last week about how we know, Jen and I know, we can get 16 2.5 inch squares out of a strip of fabric. Right? You can get 8 5-inch squares out of a 5-inch with the fabric strip. So depending on how you decide to grow your quilt or shrink it, say you're going to add 2 rows and 2 columns. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So what you're going to do is you're going to need like 12 more white squares for each additional row. Sorry, I'm just throwing these numbers out there. But what that tells me is you need another 1.5 5-inch strips for each one that you're going to grow.
So you need to buy 10 more inches of fabric. So you're going to need about
10 more inches of fabric. And so that way you can go ahead and do the math yourself and know how to grow the quilt or shrink the quilt to make it be exactly what it is you want it to be size-wise. As these are quick, they're easy. They can be quilted on your domestic machine so easily because you can just do a diagonal across, or you can you can echo the seams. You can stitch in the ditch, even though Jen and I don't like it.
It's your quilt.
It's your quilt. You can do what you want. But that's just, it really is that.
It's that easy to adjust. You know, a lot of times making a quilt larger or smaller can be really tricky when you're dealing with a lot of blocks inside. Where this is more, I mean, this is a really basic patchwork quilt. This is like,
yes.
So
but
it is
a trendy thing.
But it's trendy with how we do color placement, which is fun. It's also super beginner friendly.
Yes,
so
if
this
you
is
want to do
also
a project
fun
over Christmas break,
over Christmas
or with
break.
your grandkids, or with
if your kids are stuck at home and they thankfully don't have 12,000 Zoom calls a day for school, and you want to have a quick project with them, maybe some introductory quilting lessons, this is a great one because we're going to do a 1/4 inch seam and we're going to practice it over and over. We're going to nest seams. There's really nothing tricky about this one. So it's a great project for somebody who's just learning.
Yes.
Like, I think, was it last year? Maybe it was the year before. I gave both of my older girls a little quilt kit for Christmas. Yeah, Sophie still doesn't get a quilt kit. She's 4. And it was something we worked on over Christmas break, which was fun because, you know, especially if we're going to have like another Snowmageddon or something. And, you know, we don't get to go to the movies and to the rec center and stuff like we normally do over Christmas. So this will give us something else to do. You know, yeah, don't get your cord caught.
I was like in the tail of this. I do these big ones on my ironing board.
Right. This is when I pull out my ironing board. Generally speaking, I only go on the mat.
Once I start sewing rows together, the ironing board comes out.
And binding. The
yeah.
ironing board also comes out.
So, yeah. I'm using the black for my binding. I talked about that, right?
No. So, the binding is listed on the pattern separately. Liz decided to do it out of her dark print. Also, if you need to add binding for every, you know, we have a fun equation for that too. Anyway, okay. So this would just go right on top of that row. We'd flip it over. Pin.
One more seam and it's done.
One more seam and the quilt's done. Like we said, we like to match what matters. We're going to pin right where the seams are and let the rest of it work its way out.
And I'm going to get this quilted so I can give it to my son.
Right. Happy Christmas, Henry.
Something.
He's our fellow math nerd, which is fun. Gotta love having some kids that are nerdy with us.
I know.
Because, you know, like Lily's like, what? I don't get it. Why is this fun? She's not a math nerd, unfortunately.
Nope. I have one that is. Well, actually, there's my 4-year-old.
Well, yeah, him too.
My boys are math nerds, which is funny because in my house it's the girls. Well, anyway, we're good.
All right. Anyway, so this pattern is available for you on our website. You can click the link in the information section on the video, or just go to resources where we have several free patterns. And this video will be available again on Facebook and YouTube. Mm-hmm. And if you're on YouTube, subscribe, and then you'll get notified every time there is a new video. And yeah, oh, really quick, our backgrounds. So this one right here, these are both panel quilts. Speaking of Christmas coming up and maybe needing a quick project. This is a panel with a stop border. And guys, these piano keys are running yardage. So this is literally one giant panel with 2 quick borders. We do have a few kits available. It's called the Princess and the Pea.
You can't see it.
You can't see it. Let's pull it up.
There's a pea hiding under all these mattresses right there. And my favorite thing about this panel is how angsty she looks.
Right.
She's so irritated about this stupid pea under her bed, so she can't sleep. And to me, that's how I would be if there was a stupid pea under my bed and I couldn't sleep.
Right. Okay, and our other panel quilt, I don't know, hopefully we can see this. It's called Be Unique. It's got a fun little unicorn painted
It's
flowers.
Uni the Unicorn if you've seen the books.
Yeah.
And
so this is also a panel with 3 little borders, and that's also available. So if you need a really quick project,
of course we have Crazy Minky
we
on the
had
back.
to back them with Minky.
Of both of them, because that's how we are.
Oh, and we quilted them both the same too.
I know. It's that Midnight Sparkle design. It just is far too versatile for cute little quilts.
Right.
And we use it too much, but it's so adorable. It's adorable.
Anyway,
All right, but thanks for joining us, and we'll see y'all next week. I forget what we're doing, but
we have a plan.
We have something planned.
All right.
All right, guys. We'll see you later.